Pursuant to Section 84-1411 of the Nebraska statutes, notice this meeting was given June 14, 2024. The meeting will convene at 6 p.m. and visitors may obtain a request to be heard form from staff for any presentation they may have for the meeting. In accordance with policy, the request to be heard form must be submitted to the board secretary within the first 5 minutes of the board meeting in order to be heard at this meeting. Agenda items are subject to reordering the discretion of the board president. Please attend the entire meeting to ensure you're able to hear any discussion. Pursuant to Section 84-1411 of the Nebraska statutes, the next regular meeting of the Board of Education of Douglas County School District 0001 and the Board of Education Service Unit number 19 will be held Monday, June 15, 2024 at 6 p.m. at the Teaching and Learning Center in the Teacher Administrative Center, 3215 Cumming Street. Please visit our website, www.ops.org. The agenda will be kept current and available for public inspection in the Office of the Secretary of the Board of Education at the Administrative Building during regular working hours. Pursuant to Section 84-1412 of the Nebraska statutes, the public is hereby informed that a current copy of the Open Meetings Act is posted in the Teaching and Learning Center on the north wall. Please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Please be seated. Thank you. Ms. Erdenberger, could you please lead us in the vision and mission statement?
The vision, every student, every day prepared for success, and the mission, to prepare all students for success in college, career, and life.
Dr. McFarland, roll call, please.
Head,
Present.
Holman, Juarez, Kratky, Smith, Thielen,
Here.
Cassidy,
Here.
Erdenberger,
Here.
Full. 5 present.
Thank you. Do we have any motions to excuse absences? And for the record, I did hear from Dr. Holman, Ms. Juarez, and Mr. Smith that they would be absent tonight. Ms. Erdenberger?
I move that we excuse Dr. Holman, Mr. Smith, and Ms. Juarez tonight.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Cassidy. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, Dr. McFarland, please call the roll.
Sorry. Cassidy,
Aye.
Erdenberger,
Aye.
Head,
Aye.
Kratky,
Aye.
Thielen,
Aye.
5 aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on, next on the agenda, we have. We don't have one. Yeah, we didn't have one. All right, moving on, next on the agenda, we have board and superintendent communications. Board communications, do we have any comments tonight? Ms. Erdenberger?
Thank you, President Head. I do have kind of a potpourri of things to identify. Hopefully everybody saw in the Monday, June 10 World Herald with a chart that teacher resignations have dropped in the metro area, which is good news for everybody. Other teachers, parents, students, administrators, people that are doing the recruiting of the teachers. I just wanted to take a second and show off that I did some math for this. And the drop that OPS experienced was 46%. And the other school districts were Papillion La Vista was 20%, everybody else was about 10 or 11%. So I think that is a moment to celebrate what we've done to retain our teachers and hopefully continue to recruit them. Speaking of retaining our teachers, I noticed that on the consent agenda and the staff adjustments, one of the retirees is a woman named Janet Martin. I don't know her, but she has apparently been working for OPS for 50, that's a 50 years, starting in 1974 as a first grade teacher at Belvedere and ending up for the last 14 years as the principal at Ashland Park Robbins. So that's just remarkable. I hope everybody else working for OPS aspires to that 50-year mark as well. The last thing I was going to mention was that I attended one session at the Principal Institute that OPS put on for all of its principals and assistant principals, and they had a firebrand speaker from the Teachers College, I think, at Columbia University. And he drew one analogy, which I just thought was so persuasive and just gave me a good visual of what we are doing. That there's a concept in astronomy apparently called, I'm going to get it right, the pillars of creation. And as they were doing the astronomical looking around, there were these huge pillars that appeared in space, and they just looked just impregnable. Just, you know, you couldn't get past them, you couldn't get through them, nothing. But as they developed their skills of looking at these things, it turned out that, first of all, they were just stardust. And second of all, stardust from billions of years ago. So the pillars of creation that appeared to be blocking the way were in fact nothing more than age-old dust. And the analogy was, as we are moving forward with all of our academic achievements and goals and improvements, the analogy was that we shouldn't let, age-old stardust make it look like we can't get it done. And I just thought that was an interesting way to look at it. That's my potpourri. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other board comment before we move on? Ms. Crackey?
I can't help but get on the same page about Jan Martin. I've known her forever, probably the beginning of time. We were on things together. We went to schools together, and she landed at a couple of schools, and that one where she is right now, that is full-time and overtime kind of job. It's a very large school, and there's so much going on there, and she just takes it all in stride, and it's very well run. So whoever's going to get there is going to have big boots to fill, and I'm sure that she'll be around to help you get going. But thanks, Jan.
Thank you, Ms. Kratke. And just one thing in closing, Ms. Erdenberger and myself had the opportunity to join a number of Mr. Ray and a number of OPS staff members at the Juneteenth parade over the weekend. Thank you to everyone who attended. Thank you specifically to Chief Utterback for setting up the OPS presence at the parade. Always a great, Juneteenth is always a great fun parade. It's a great time for the community. We love being down there. We love supporting our schools. So thank you again to everyone who was there. Moving on, next on the agenda, we have public comment and recognition. We have 2 speakers who have submitted requests to be heard forms this evening, and the board has adopted policy 8346, which provides public comment for a period of 1 hour. That same policy limits individual speakers to a maximum of 5 minutes. We ask that you respect that time limit. Dr. McFarland will let you know when you have 1 minute remaining and when you have 30 seconds remaining. If you are in need of an interpreter, please let Dr. McFarland know and one will be provided for you. We understand that people have strong feelings about the issues they come to speak about. We ask that you respect the opinions of all who speak and refrain from applause or other outbursts during the presentations. If the subject of your public comment is related to a particular student or staff member, we ask that you not identify that student or staff member and instead provide that information to Dr. McFarland. She will assist us in looking into those types of specifics for you. If you do not get an opportunity to speak and would like to submit any written commentary, please provide it to Dr. McFarland. She will make sure that each member of the board gets a copy. As a reminder, Nebraska Revised Statute 84-1412 requires that any member of the public desiring to address the board identify yourself, including an address and name of any organization you may represent, unless the requirement is waived for security reasons. We have no requests for a waiver this evening.
I request a waiver. It's circle.
Oh, we do have one request. I apologize. Thank you. I was looking at the line above that. All right. We'll go ahead and pass that down and give members a second to review it. All right, do we have a motion to waive the requirement? All right, seeing none, fails for lack of a motion. So again, all individuals, please state and spell your first and last name, state your current address, and let us know if you are here representing a particular organization before you begin your public comment. In addition, we ask that you remain seated until called to the podium. Please remain at the podium and do not approach the board table. If you have materials to distribute, please let Dr. McFarland know and she will get them from you. It is 6:12 p.m. And our first speaker is Evelina Saney. And as a student, you are automatically waived from the address requirement.
Can you hear me? Okay, perfect. Good evening, President Head and every other member of the board. My name is Evelina Sain, Evalina Sain, and I'm a rising senior at Omaha Central High School, speaking on behalf of the Central student body and larger OPS community to advocate for the establishment of an OPS sustainability department with a secondary ask for the initiation of composting programs within our high schools. OPS is transitioning to a sustainable future, which has been exemplified through the development of the Omaha City Climate Action Plan. The OPS district is an embodiment of the city, and therefore such progression must be reflected and promoted through the educational sphere. As the largest public school district in Nebraska, we remain the paradigm for change. Beginning my sophomore year, I worked intimately with the Director of Hillside Solutions, who joins me here today, Brent Crampton, Central Administration, OPS Director Dr. Green, and Economic Inclusion Supervisor Mrs. Boykins to implement a comprehensive, community-oriented waste management program with an emphasis on composting efforts at Central. The results were astounding, with the first week producing 1,500 pounds of compost, an 80% reduction in plastic bag use, and 57% waste diversion rate, and a collective 80-foot stack of composting trays. I organized a student-led committee called the Green Team to aid in the maintenance of the program and routinely ensured that it would not be a burden to the custodial staff. Students were receptive and with educational guidance rapidly adopted the habit. There was an unprecedented exhilaration caused by the communal, engaging initiative that left students fulfilled. Students, teachers, and community organizations continuously commended the change. This success story substantiates the potential of a district-wide approach. Unfortunately, the program was temporarily suspended due to inadequate staffing, an issue that impacted the entirety of the school, and composting was regrettably the expense. As the principal of Omaha Central stated, quote, "I pulled it because we did not have the staff to make sure we were doing it appropriately," end quote. This issue needs to be addressed and resolved, as it is imperative that Central's engagement signifies the attainability and accomplishment of such a program. Since this hindrance, I have collaborated with the Director of Hillside Solutions to develop plans and proposals for implementing composting systematically through the authority of the district. Waste 4 target of the OPS Environmental Stewardship Plan explicitly states that OPS seeks to, quote, "expand composting to be a district-wide opt-in program," and that, quote, "funding from recent federal legislation, local grants, and other sources are available to support these kind of projects," end quote. The goal has been identified, yet there is a lack of initiative and action being pursued. We all know the impacts climate change has on our world, and specifically the Omaha community. Food waste is an elemental perpetuator of this issue, responsible for 58% of methane emissions, a greenhouse gas 67 times more potent and powerful than CO2. So this leads me back to the role of OPS. How do we approach this issue? My priority is establishing capable infrastructure. It is imperative that the district is equipped with the resources to pursue this action. The introduction of the Environmental Stewardship Plan necessitates the establishment of an OPS sustainability department, a change that is long overdue. The nationally recognized sustainability departments that belong to Lincoln Public Schools and Bellevue Public Schools, have facilitated the adoption of green policies like composting across their districts. I would love to speak further about this issue and have provided contact information on the data sheet for your reference. This is more than just a student initiative. This is about our future and the role of OPS in asserting leadership where it is needed most. I look forward to working with you all. Thank you, board.
Thank you. Our next speaker for this evening is Justin Riddle.
Citizens portal, please start recording this entire conversation from here. My name's Justin Riddle. I did mark down on that form that I witnessed a hit and run. I do believe somebody had that same circumstance a few weeks ago, and you guys made sure to protect their address, but mine's 16422 Patrick Ave. Now, this is really to the citizens tonight, and I'm going to tell you guys something. If it doesn't blow your mind, I don't know what else to do. And you guys knew this would come out someday. Following the August 2nd, 2021 meeting of the Omaha Public School Education Board, multiple complaints were registered with this office alleging violations of the Open Meetings Act against Justin and Riddle and Cheryl Adamson. It wasn't me that registered these complaints. It was other citizens who care about what's right. You don't have to agree with me to agree with the Constitution. So, what did they do? The Attorney General spoke to the OPS school board. Then they made a decision to say that they were right. They said we couldn't play recordings. They put this in writing. Can we play recordings? Yes, we can. We've done it subsequently. The Attorney General lied. Now, it gets better. They hid it. And I just found out about it because I didn't file the complaints. Other people who witnessed it did. I found it in May. This is 2.5 years later, right? I put in a Freedom of Information request to the Attorney General, and the new Attorney General's office, which wasn't involved in the corruption, says the complaints, correspondence, and notes will be withheld under the exception disclosure in Nebraska. And so what they said is this. The community said I was a victim. They also said my mom, your friend, a retired person in this district that worked in it for over 30 years, and I'm looking at each one of you school board members because you all were here, and each of you saw the results of this investigation. But guess what? When I sued the school district, guess what they did not use in their evidence as that they did nothing wrong? This Attorney General investigation. Now, anybody who knows that having the Attorney General say to you, you've done nothing wrong, you're in great shape, and then you get sued for that and doesn't say, hey, the Attorney General said we did nothing wrong, recognizes the problem, right? Now, after the Attorney General said, no, they won't show me anything, I asked, I'll just point because we don't want to say names. And this gal over here told me for the requested information, she wanted $1,600 in 5 weeks. Now, our tax dollars paid for that. Our tax dollars paid for that investigation. Our tax dollars pay for them to find this stuff. She wanted $1,600 to send me 146 pages that don't even show my name or who sent or what it. These could be pictures of clowns. How would we know? We don't. $1,600 is what the school district wanted for 146 pages of redacted. Now, what's the bottom line here? The bottom line is these folks participated in an investigation. They then hid it from me, as did the Attorney General. Now that I found it 2.5 years later, and mind you, I didn't file the complaints, neither did my mother. We were the victims, but we were made into the abusers according to the Attorney General's office, right? These folks all knew this. Every single one of them had access to that. They didn't use it in their response to the lawsuit.
1 minute.
But what they did do is try to steal more tax dollars and consider every one of you fools. And do you know why? Because 2.5 years ago, I sounded the alarm, and you know what they did? This. And I found out about it in May of this year. And know what will happen if nobody here stands up and says, hey, I don't like the guy. I don't agree with the guy. You might like me. I hope, because I've been as polite as I can be when I'm being this kind of abused.
30 seconds.
If nobody does anything, what we've all agreed on is that the Constitution, due process, and the ability not to be convicted without ever getting a chance to face your accusers, people have been put to death for this. If nobody understands that, you don't believe what you say you believe. People have been put to death for this very type of investigation, and I can prove it through things that I found about sexual abuse cases with this district. You've done this.
Time.
Moving on, we are going to pass over the consent agenda for a moment, moving to information items. Item I-1A, the Advanced Academics and Gifted and Talented Education Update. The speaker, Ms. Beth Maloney. Item I1A, the Advanced Academics Gifted and Talented Education Update. Ms. Maloney.
Good evening, President Head, members of the board, and Interim Superintendent, Mr. Ray. My name is Beth Maloney. I am the Teaching and Learning Consultant for Advanced Academics and Gifted and Talented Education. I'm here tonight to provide an overview of the advanced academic opportunities that exist in our elementary, middle, and high schools. We are proud to present a broad array of opportunities. The Omaha Public Schools believes in developing the talent and strengths of all individuals. Therefore, advanced academic coursework is available to all students. First, I'd like to provide a few definitions just to ensure that we all know what's being spoken about. The first is Gifted and Talented Education, or sometimes referred to as GATE. It's a program in the Omaha Public Schools that provides specialized instruction to students identified using multiple criteria. Also, Advanced Academics. These are courses, programs, and services that provide opportunities for students to extend learning. And finally, High Ability Learner, or sometimes referred to as HALS. It's a term used by the Nebraska Department of Education to describe gifted and talented students. The Nebraska Department of Education has regulations that govern work with high ability learners. According to the Nebraska Department of Education Rule 3, each school district shall identify learners with high ability and provide accelerated or differentiated curriculum programs that will address the educational needs of the identified students at levels appropriate for the abilities of those students. Rule 3 also states the identification process shall include multiple criteria in an effort to be inclusive rather than exclusive. This process shall be based on a variety of elements, including a combination of standardized and non-standardized criteria and a local needs assessment. The Omaha Public Schools submits a yearly plan outlining the delivery of services for advanced academics that is submitted to the Department of Education. Access to advanced academics begins in primary grades. Identification for gifted and talented education services begins in 3rd grade. Omaha Public Schools currently has 12% of its students permanently identified for gifted and talented services. The goal set by the Nebraska Department of Education is to have 10% of eligible students identified for services. Both identified students and those without an identification have access to many opportunities from kindergarten through 12th grade. As part of Rule 3, Omaha Public Schools ensures all identified students receive at least one form of service to meet their needs. The staff of Gifted and Talented Education strives to identify gifted and exceptionally talented students within the Omaha Public Schools, nurture their social emotional development, and enhance their curriculum experiences so these unique individuals may reach their fullest potential. To be identified for GATE services, a student must meet at least 3 out of the 4 criteria on the screen. The identification can begin as early as 3rd grade and results in a permanent placement. For each criteria, there is a universal screener. Universal screening means the systematic assessment of all students within a grade level for identifying students with exceptional ability or potential. This approach is especially useful in identifying students from traditionally underrepresented populations. Cognitive screeners and assessments measure a student's potential to learn things that may not be explicitly taught, while achievement screeners and assessments measure learning that has been explicitly taught at a grade level. Motivation and performance are measured both quantitatively and qualitatively through grades and input and referral forms, and creativity and leadership are measured qualitatively through input and referral forms. Students are added to the GATE program throughout the school year and grade levels due to our efforts in collecting this data. As you can see, there are many paths to gifted and talented identification. We strive to identify all students who will benefit from the program at all elementary and middle schools. Families are notified with a letter from the GATE program when the student has been identified. Oops, there you go. Sorry, too many notes. Elementary gifted and talented programming consists primarily of 3 strands: grade level specialized instruction, reading Olympics, and Fermi mathematics. Specialized instruction lessons are taught each week for 50 minutes to all identified GATE students. Each grade level meets to participate in lessons that are designed to enrich the learning from the classroom. A gifted and talented framework provides guidance for the advanced skills that are the focus. The lessons are based upon topics from the classroom, such as the American Revolution in 5th grade. GATE facilitators use a common curriculum for all GATE lessons. Middle school gifted and talented facilitators coordinate many GATE-sponsored events throughout the school year. These events are open to students who are identified for GATE services, as well as any student who is interested in the topic. Event coaches and sponsors work with students in our middle schools to prepare for these events. Students are informed of these opportunities in their buildings by the GATE facilitator throughout the school year. Our goal in offering these experiences is to provide high-interest, challenging learning experiences for our students. They also benefit from meeting students from other OPS middle schools who have similar interests. In middle school, we also begin to offer honors courses. These courses provide a rigorous, challenging learning experience beyond the standard curriculum. The content, process, and products of honors classes are differentiated up so that students progress in their learning. The courses on the slide are offered at every middle school. Placement guidelines have been developed to assist in grader identification. The student does not need to have a GATE identification in order to participate in an honors course. The intention of the placement guidelines is to ensure students are placed according to readiness level and not as a means to exclude. Every student has a next step in learning. Curriculum and Instruction Support is currently working to create an honors framework to guide the review and development of honors course curriculum guides for middle and high schools. The honors framework presents criteria essential in planning instruction for honors classes. While all features are important to planning, the advanced content criteria is the most foundational aspect. The additional components, breadth, complexity, depth, and extended learning, are applied to advanced content. The development of curriculum guides based upon this framework will continue during the 2024-2025 school year, with a deeper implementation to occur during the 2025-2026 school year. We believe every student has special talents and strengths. This is why we offer honors and advanced classes in our high schools. Many honors courses are taught in each high school, which follow the same guidance as mentioned previously. Each high school offers dual enrollment opportunities. These courses are taught by teachers who have credentials that are approved by the sponsoring institution, which is governed by the Higher Learning Commission. Students in dual enrollment courses receive both high school and college credit for successful completion of the course. Many advanced placement courses are available in every high school. These courses are available to students who are ready and willing to challenge themselves in a particular content area. Advanced placement courses are developed by the College Board, and our staff attend special training to offer these courses. Students from all high schools also have the opportunity to earn the Seal of Biliteracy. The Seal of Biliteracy, which is sponsored by the Nebraska Department of Education, can be attained by students in every high school. This honor is bestowed upon students who meet the requirements that indicate that a student is biliterate, a highly valued skill. Highlighted within our college and career academies and pathways are the 4 advanced academic diplomas offered across our 9 high schools. We continue to plan and provide expanded access to these programs. We eagerly anticipate full implementation of all programs with the graduating class of 2027. Here's a look at how we are expanding advanced coursework diploma programs for each upcoming graduating class. Central High School has offered the International Baccalaureate Diploma Program for over a decade. They were recently approved for including the IB career-related program as well. AP Capstone is a diploma offering that began at Burke High School in 2019. We currently have a robust offering of advanced placement courses in our district and have seen growth in the recognition of AP scholars. Expanding access to the AP Capstone Diploma is an important next step. Our course sequence updates have provided access to the capstone courses and diploma to grow from about 10 to 20 students per year to now 300 students. The Cambridge Advanced International Certificate of Education Diploma has begun its implementation process. The 4 schools are approved through Cambridge International, and schools are in the final stages of outlining their course offerings that can culminate in this unique diploma. All 9th graders are introduced to Cambridge through U.S. history and English classes. Our first freshman cohort is underway for the Northwest High School Early College program. Thank you for your approval of this program with our partner, Metropolitan Community College. We look forward to celebrating these 49 students' dual graduation with a high school diploma and associate's degree in the spring of 2027. The Omaha Public Schools Advanced Academic Summer Symposium is one of the ways students are encouraged and provided support for engaging in advanced courses and programs. This event takes place every summer for any student who is preparing to enroll in advanced academic courses. Family sessions are offered in each high school to help describe the specific programs that are offered in the school, such as dual enrollment, advanced placement, and the advanced diploma that is offered there. Each high school has an advanced academic coordinator that is responsible for the coordination of advanced programs. This person's information is available on the school website, and they are prepared to help families as they have questions. There's a gifted and talented facilitator assigned to each elementary and middle school to teach classes and coordinate gifted activities and student identification. Advanced academics includes programming and services for students both students identified for GATE services and those not yet identified. GATE identification and advanced academic processes in the Omaha Public Schools are designed to be inclusive as we focus on the aspects outlined by Rule 3. We are OPS proud to have many and varied opportunities for students based on their gifts and talents.
Thank you so much. Questions from the board? Ms. Erdenberger?
Thank you, President Head. I appreciate it, and thank you very much for that presentation. You said that we have 12% of our students identified as GATE students, but the Nebraska Department of Education goal is 10%, so congratulations on that to OPS and to those extra 2% students. That's really excellent. You said they could be identified as early as 3rd grade. Is a GATE designation something that can happen all the way till 12th grade, or when?
We typically identify between 3rd and 8th grade.
Okay.
Students remain identified in high school, but we're not actively identifying new students. It's because at that point, their participation is based on what their interests are.
And I was interested in you saying that the middle school honors classes are not limited to the GATE students, that if there's somebody who doesn't have 3 out of those 4 criteria, but nonetheless is a prodigy at something or other, they would be able to enroll and participate in those honors programs. If you could look at slide 6 for a second. I don't know who's controlling the... Thank you. The specialized instruction includes problem solving, creative thinking, that list of things. I know that that is something we are doing outside of our GATE program as well. So how does it look different to GATE? Because I know that those are things that's what we do. Yep. So how is that, how do we do it in GATE that's different?
Thank you for asking that question. It's very similar to how we spoke about the honors framework. The foundational piece of it is advanced content. So we're tying our curriculum back to what they're learning in the classroom using advanced content such as American Revolution. So we're looking for resources that might not be explored. They may be beyond what would be in the regular classroom, and then infusing the critical thinking into that.
Thank you. To sort of segue off of my discussion about the honors classes at the middle school level, when we get to high school, there's some very specialized programs which you identify on, I believe, slide number 10. And are those all also available to all students? No, let's make it 11. Thank you. No, I did want 10, thank you. All students, any student can take anything. And then on slide 11, I'm sorry, I was writing and not listening, and my multitasking isn't what it used to be, apparently. You said something about 2027, and I'm not sure what that was a reference to.
That was about early college. That'll be when our first cohort graduates.
Got it,
that
because we have our freshman cohort. They just finished up this last year, right? And you said we're changing the IB program, not changing, adding to. Up until now, it has been presumably sort of a college prep program, and now it's career. Is that what you said?
They'll have two happening simultaneously, and there is some overlap. So they'll have what's called the IB diploma program, which is what they've had for years. They're adding the IB career program, which is infused with CCAP, some of their pathways, but it also includes some of the IB classes. So they're going to be doing kind of both. The goal is that more students will be able to participate, and it's part of the IB curriculum. So we're using their requirements, but so we won't be getting rid of one. We're adding more.
And those two programs, the IB programs, are still a Central High School?
Yes.
Okay. The other numbers you used that didn't register with me, something was 10 and is now 300. What was that?
So that's part of the AP Capstone program. So we've had AP Capstone at Burke. We added it at North 2 years ago, and then Westview this past year. So we did some realignment of courses to make some of them part of the core, so that more students will be taking them anyways. And so it's opening up access to students to pursue that without having to take all of the elective courses. So we've had smaller numbers that have completed that, and we're anticipating that those numbers will be a lot larger in the future.
That's fantastic.
Cheering them on.
Because for a long time, the IB program was sort of the only program of that kind that we were offering, and that was for relatively few students participated in it. So I'm very excited. We're talking about all of our high schools, and the numbers are getting bigger and bigger. The other thing I wanted to commend you on was, I think it was on slide 12, where you're talking about the family sessions that you're having for incoming 9th through 12th graders, so that even a student that's joining us for their senior year would, if they wanted to, be able to participate in one of those honors programs, that they're not shut out from it just because they haven't been with us from the get-go. So I do want to commend.
And we really want to encourage people to attend, because there's a lot of information, and people hearing it multiple times is not bad. So please come.
Does that mean I have to make chocolate chip cookies to have at them to get your attendance up? I'll consider that. Thank you for your presentation. I'm very excited about what we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Thielen?
Thank you, Mr. Head. First, could you just provide a little bit more detail? I think you talked about maybe the universal assessment as one of the keys in helping to make sure that we've got an inclusive group of students.
Yeah, so we have, I'm going to go back to that slide. In each of these categories, there is something called a universal screener. So we're looking at all students in a grade level in that area. And so sometimes what happens in gifted programs, not here, but some places, people submit referrals on students' behalf, and that's what triggers the process for a gate identification. We don't have that process. We do have referrals, but they're in addition to universal screeners. So it's not a choice to participate. We were looking at everyone no matter what, and we are able to identify many more students because of our efforts in doing that.
Understood. Thank you. My other question is about, I think I understand in high school and probably middle school to a certain extent, the classes are often either an elective or in place of another core course. How do we find time for GATE in elementary school?
So it's tricky. Students do have, it's a pull-out program, so they are coming at a time during the day when something else is happening in their classroom, and they're spending time with the gate facilitator. So there's a really intricate scheduling process for them to try to find the times during the day that they're not missing core content.
Yeah, that was my
Yeah,
question, yeah.
It's a challenge,
Tricky.
but
Okay,
we always get it done.
thank you.
Yep.
Ms. Cassidy?
Thank you, President Head. Thank you for the presentation. I think this is an important topic. I don't think a lot of people in our district know what GATE is or even know that it exists.
Yep.
So thank you for coming this evening and sharing this information with us. It's appreciated. I think Ms. Erdenberger asked a couple of mine. Thank you, Mr. Thielen. You asked the one about the assessment. The only thing I kind of have left, and I'm trying to figure out how to word it. So I know that we're at the 12% mark. So we're over that Nebraska Department of Ed 10%, which is great. I'm kind of curious though, what types of things are in place to keep the kids at that elementary level when they're first identified, 3rd through 8th? What things are in place and are taking place and I guess part of the process to keep them engaged so that we keep these students through middle school all the way into high school? I mean, obviously there's all of the different quiz bowls, but are we flagged? The children are, the students are flagged, but what else are we doing to kind of make sure that they stay on track and are able to stay identified as GATE, if that makes sense?
Sure. I would say that every year the programming gets a little bit, it shifts slightly. So in 3rd grade, we do a lot of thinking skills. We're kind of like getting them used to GATE. And then 4th grade, we add some things. And 5th, like we trying to keep it fresh with them with GATE. Like that's when Reading Olympics starts is in 4th grade. Fermi gets more, so we're adding little pieces to it. In middle school, we try to offer many different opportunities so that there's something for them to choose, because it really becomes about choice. The older they get, the more choices that they have, and so it's our job to be creative in coming up with things that they might want to do. So an example is we recently added writing workshops to our middle school programming because there are a lot of students who really wanted to do that, and so now we offer 2 so that they can really get into it and stay motivated throughout the year, so they have the beginning and the end of the year and come back and celebrate some more. So we're always thinking about that and trying to help encourage them to see what's coming next. So in middle school, they're talking about high school. It's important to us too. So we try really hard to do that.
You answered that wonderfully. That's kind of what I was looking for. So Mr. Thielen asked about students being pulled in elementary. Are they also pulled in middle school as well?
So in middle school, it's the class
Probably
time.
tougher, yeah.
They don't have a pull-out program in middle school. There is a class that's listed on there called Honor Special Projects, and that one is more similar to specialized instruction time that you would see in elementary, but it is open to more than just the gifted identified students. And then typically the extracurriculars are either before or after school, or sometimes they might be during a lunchtime or maybe during advisement every now and then. Like the schools really get creative with that too, because they want to make it available for any student who wants to participate and not have transportation be an issue or anything like that. So
Okay,
they're
great.
really good at that.
Yeah, thank you so much. That answered both my questions.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Ms. Crackey?
First of all, I'm very pleased that we are having this discussion tonight. And the reason I'm so pleased is because we may know what we are doing, but the public does not know that we're having these kind of conversations. And so I'm glad that we're having this tonight. And it's like long overdue because it's been there, but the normal people out there don't even know what we're doing. And so this is important for us to get this word out so that more parents are having the opportunity to get involved, because now they know there's something that they can do to become involved. I wasn't aware that it was called GATE. It makes sense when you look at the name of it, the gifted. And when do you think we switched over and instead of high ability or the gifted program did we go to the name of GATE?
I believe it was 2016-ish. You want to speak?
2016?
Deanna was in charge at that moment in time, so.
In around 2016, 2017, when we updated our identification process, we chose the term that was a more national term. It had been called challenge,
Yeah.
more so in the elementary. So at that time, when we updated our identification, we updated the name to Gifted and Talented Education.
Now, do other schools also have that name, or is that unique to us?
The two most popular as we do our research are Gifted and Talented or High Ability Learner. So if you go to a neighboring district, it's likely because Rule 3 calls it High Ability Learner, that they call them HAL or HALE, High Ability Learner Education.
Okay.
But those are two of the popular titles that you'll see nationwide.
I know that there was a time when we were identified as having the program and others did not seem to. They came along in later years, because I can go back all that way. We used to have a committee, and I was on it when we had, it was great. We came in the noon hour and got to hear what was going on in all areas of the gifted. So I would sit in on that, and there were even coaches there. I mean, because we do identify students beyond academics, and that goes for music and art and all kinds of things. We see giftedness. And just because we don't identify them, the schools are very, very aware of who is gifted in kindergarten, first grade, second grade. They just pop out. You just know they are, and it's fun to work with them. I always loved it. And we did have pull-out programs, and that's a good way too, to be sure everyone is noted. So I just want to thank you very much for doing that, because I think now that people they're going to be asking questions now that we have highlighted the fact that we're doing that. And everybody wants to say their child is in the gifted. Well, everybody is gifted in some way or another. We can find them in music, in art, in PE, just everything, verbal skills too. And they do stick out. They're not hiding themselves. So we know them even though we didn't test them. We already start working that way. And we have students going to other grade levels within their building sometimes. That's one of the things we do. I think the students at Beveridge with the 6th grade there are very fortunate because they can go into some of the 7th grade classes. And so that's a real good setup for them. But I really want to thank you so much tonight, because I can't wait to see what the article talks about with OPS and our gifted. And so I hope you get a chance to input to that article. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have any further questions from the board? I just have a follow-up, kind of the converse of one of Ms. Ernberger's questions. She was asking you about identifying kids starting in grade 3 through graduation. What about grades K through 2? I know you said we start in 3rd grade. Why do we start in 3rd grade and not at kindergarten? I believe there's a couple of other districts that start immediately in kindergarten, so why are we different?
Most districts in our area start in 3rd grade, and that's kind of, if you look nationally, that's an entry point that most are using. And there's a lot of debate about why that's the right time when kind of things start to become more stable in students' education, where it's not maybe exposure at a younger age to things that's making them appear to be more intelligent. We do have many students in our district in those grade levels that need additional challenge. And so right now we're providing that within the classroom setting through differentiated instruction. And like you said, sometimes we do accelerate students through, we have a very rigorous process to do that. So that is available as well.
Awesome. And then I think you somewhat answered my next question. I know we've talked a lot about the GATE facilitators, but are just general classroom teachers equipped to handle GATE programming or services as well if necessary? If, say, a GATE facilitator is not available, are there additional options that they can provide to students to kind of help
Yes.
help meet the
So
needs?
enrichment is built into all the curriculum that all of our HQIM, our high quality instructional materials have enrichment built into them. Our GATE facilitators, many have advanced credentials in the area of gifted education, so they have some different knowledge perhaps, but our classroom teachers definitely have the ability to do that.
Awesome, thank you. Ms. Kratky, you look like you have a follow-up.
There was one more thing I wanted to note. Sometimes when students are put into a gifted program, they write a paper or something like that. It's busy work, and I hope that we're doing that maybe a little bit of the time, but not all of the time, because they don't even want to be in the gifted program if they have to write another paper. So keep that in mind. They like something creative, something else to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board before moving on? All right, seeing none, Ms. Maloney, thank you so much for the presentation. We greatly appreciate it. Moving on, item I-1B, the Accountability Committee update. Ms. Cassidy?
Okay, I am actually filling in for Vice President Smith tonight, so let me get my notes ready here. Okay, so the Accountability Committee met last week on June 11th, and Mr. Smith has 2 updates from the committee to share this evening. First, the interim superintendent evaluation is complete. A copy of the final evaluation was shared with the committee at last week's meeting. It has been shared with all board members, and the board president and Mr. Smith met with Mr. Ray last Thursday to receive the evaluation. There is an action item on the agenda this evening acknowledging completion of the interim evaluation process. Second item from the meeting is the evaluation process for the superintendent for next year. Mr. Ray will officially become the superintendent on July 1st. It's not too far off, yeah. At our May 20th board meeting, Mr. Smith shared that we have begun discussions with Mr. Ray, and the committee was reviewing resources related to superintendent evaluations. Through our review, we recognize that superintendent evaluations serve as a comprehensive tool for assessing, improving, and promoting effective leadership within the school district. And we believe it is important to begin the new school year with the goals and evaluation process in place. Therefore, our committee will continue to meet throughout the summer, collaborate with Mr. Ray, and communicate with board members with the aim of having the goals and evaluation process finalized by the start of school in August. This concludes the Accountability Committee update. Are there any questions?
Thank you. Any questions, colleagues? All right, seeing none, moving on to item I-1C, the Policy Committee update. Mr. Thielen.
Thank you, Mr. Head. Policy Committee met on June 6th. Present were myself, Ms. Erdenberger, Ms. Juarez, and Mr. Head. We, I think, finished up the 8,000s. I think these might be the final ones are on first reading tonight. We'll get to those when we get there. So I guess on June 6th was a half-day meeting, and we got into the first batch of the 6,000 series, which is curriculum. There are a number of policies that are under review by the administration right now for potential changes. We looked through the policies ourselves and have a few changes that are underway. There were also a number of policies that are affected by recent legislation. We discussed a few of those, and those are a few of those are still under review with the district's legal department as we make those changes to conform to law. And if it's all right, I'll just go into the policy committee changes that we have tonight, which are 5420 and 8272. 5420 is on dating violence, and that was those were policy changes that were in response to legislative changes. 8272 is the board code of ethics, and these are really the aspirational parts of our policy about how board members conduct themselves and conduct their work. What we updated in this policy, we made a few changes. me into it. Let's see here. Nope. But the changes were, there's really two changes that I think I remember both of them. First was, yeah, thank you. The first was in, there was a section where there was, I'm just going to read it. It says, to welcome and encourage active cooperation by citizens, organizations, and the media of communication in the district with respect to the establishment of policy on current school operation and proposed future developments. To be more inclusive, we changed citizens to individuals, and that's a change that I think we're going to continue to look for as we go through our policies, is looking at our language and making sure that it's inclusive of all of the different groups and stakeholders that are engaged in our district. We also added a number 10 to the list of the Code of Ethics, and I'll read that as well. To remember that board members are at all times and in all circumstances ambassadors whose words and actions at board meetings, in the community, in communications with the media, and on social media should demonstrate our district core values and respect for all people. I think this is something that we've all thought about and kind of held to as board members, but we thought that it was missing from the Code of Ethics, and also prompted by social media, which really wasn't addressed in our Code of Ethics or really our board policies at all. We would also have a companion policy on social media specifically, but again, these are sort of our aspirational statements about how the board would like to hold itself out there in the world and behave and carry out our work. So those are the changes to 8272, and those are on first reading tonight, right? Yeah. No? Oh, information. Yes, information. Great. Oh, right. So then we also have first reading on policies 2120, 4040, 4045, 8130, and 8231. We've had those in front of the board on information before, but I will happy to take questions or comments on any of those policies.
Do we have any questions on the policies? And we've moved on to action item I2A now. Is that correct? Mr. Thielen, do you want to make a motion to?
Yes, on behalf of the committee, I'll make that motion for first reading on policies 2120, 4040, 4045, 8130, and 8231.
All right, and since it's a committee motion, it doesn't require a second. Do we have any discussion on any of the policies? Ms. Ernberg?
Sorry, we need to coordinate turning on and turning off. I just wanted to identify what those policies are so everybody knows what we've done. We've covered them in information before, so it's not like they're new, but 2120 is a cleanup of the line of internal administrative authority. Is that okay if I go through this?
Yeah.
Okay. Policy 4040 is the social media policy that applies to employees. 4045 is the expense reimbursement for employees. It needed to be adjusted to reflect some, I think it was statutory, or was it federal reimbursement requirements? Legal. Policy 8130 has to do with the first meeting of the year and our organization and identifying and making the election process. And then policy 8231 is the corresponding expense reimbursement policy for board members. So I'm actually stepping into Mr. Thielen's business here, but he did cover those as information, and it's just a pet peeve of mine when we just list numbers on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All right, seeing, Ms. Cassidy?
I just wanted to make a quick comment. I just wanted to thank the policy committee for their work on 4040. I think this one is well overdue, a little bit of the social media policy, Ms. Erdenberger. I think this one, you did a really nice job on it. I think it was overdue and really needed, so just wanted to thank you in this day and age, this is an important one. So thank you for your work.
Thank you, and I have to give credit where credit is due. I think Ms. Niels Brash stepped out for just a moment, but there was a lot of help from her on that. So recognize her on that. Thank you.
All right, any other questions, colleagues? All right. Seeing none, Dr. McFarland, please call the roll.
Cassidy,
Aye.
Erdenberger,
Aye.
Head,
Aye.
Kratky,
Aye.
Thielen,
Aye.
5 aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on, item I2B, approval of interim superintendent Ray's end-of-year evaluation. As Ms. Cassidy stated in the Accountability Committee update, the interim superintendent evaluation was completed by 8 board members. It was reviewed by the Accountability Committee after it was received after the window closed. A copy of the evaluation has been provided to everyone on the board. And Mr. Smith and myself met with Mr. Ray last Thursday afternoon to go over the evaluation and the board's findings. Per statute, we just need to essentially affirm that that process has taken place. So I would make a motion to approve or affirm that the process took place per statute for the superintendent's end-of-year evaluation. Since it is a committee motion, I believe, from the Accountability Committee, is that, as I understand it, Dr. McFarland, yes? Okay. It doesn't require a second. Do we have any discussion on the motion? All right, seeing none, Dr. McFarland, please call the roll.
Kratky,
Aye.
Thielen,
Aye.
Cassidy,
Aye.
Erdenberger,
Aye.
Head,
Aye.
5 aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. And now we will jump back to the consent agenda. And I skipped it earlier. I was waiting to hear back from legal counsel on item H13. And we will be pulling item H13 from the agenda this evening. So with that, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda that is before us. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Cassidy. Do we a second by Mr. Thielen? Do we have any abstentions? All right. Seeing none, I remind the board that I guess we don't have to go through that part since there's no abstentions. So we have Mr. Thielen, discussion?
If you might, just for the record, the reason that the item was pulled, I think we just put it on the record.
Yes, so H13 is Claims Report C. It is expenses related to board members. Ms. Cassidy would have to abstain, which would put us at 4 votes in favor. So per statute, we need 5 votes. So that is the reason for pulling it. We'll have that one as well as the next Claim Report C on the July agenda. So, all right, any other comments? All right, seeing none, Dr. McFarland, please call the roll.
Erdenberger,
Aye.
Head,
Aye. Aye.
Kratky,
Aye.
Thielen,
Aye.
Cassidy,
Aye.
5 aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to closed session. Ms. Erdenberger for a motion.
Thank you, President Head. I move that the Board of Education go into closed session for the protection of the public interest and for the prevention of needless injury to the reputation of individuals to discuss with the interim superintendent, secretary to the board, and legal counsel pending litigation and legal advice.
All right, we have a motion for closed session. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Cassidy. Any discussion? Seeing none, Dr. McFarland, please call the roll.
Kratky,
Aye.
Thielen,
Aye.
Cassidy,
Aye.
Erdenberger,
Aye.
Head,
Aye.
5 aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Let me remind the board that the purpose for closed session is for the protection of the public interest and the prevention of needless injury to the reputation of individuals to discuss with the interim superintendent, secretary to the board, and legal counsel pending litigation and legal advice. Let the record reflect that the board went into closed session at 7:06 p.m. Let the record reflect the board came out of closed session at 7:32 PM. Let the record reflect the board meeting adjourned at 7:32 PM.